First and foremost, thank all of you for taking the time out of your day-to-day to view collections management. Cash is king. My name is Griffin Swanson from Professional Advantage, and I'll be the one taking you through today's demonstration. So just a few quick notes here before we actually get started. I want to take you through a short PowerPoint here, kind of explain some of the benefits of collections management, and then we'll hop into GP demoing the product itself, collections management, and then we'll leave an open Q&A at the end of today's session as well, hoping to get about 5 to 10 minutes where we can answer your questions. So if you have any questions during the webinar today, you can ask those in the GoToMeeting area. There's a questions box where you can submit those. But let's go ahead and get started here with the PowerPoint. Again, as I mentioned, my name is Griffin Swanson. I am the account manager and inside sales here at Professional Advantage and work with collections management. Love to give a little background history on our company here itself, Professional Advantage. So Professional Advantage was established in 1989. We've been a Microsoft President's Club member for several years, and we now have 12 offices that range worldwide. Just go over today's agenda here before we hop into the benefits. So I want to split today's demo up into 2 sections. First being the features and tools that you use in your daily collections or your day-to-day collections. So that's going to be reviewing your customers and creating notes, managing a task list, creating and sending emails, and then I'm also going to demonstrate a new integration that we've included with collections management called PayLink. Second part of today's demonstration, I'm going to show you how to automate that collections process. So we're going to show you how to target those customers, show you how to build a query and focus on specific customer groups, and then I'm going to show you how to set up and assign those customers to collection plans and then process those collection plans and show you how that automation works in collections management. All right, so now talk about some of the benefits here that we have with collections management. So I like to talk about a lot of the problems customers see when they're doing their collecting today and how collections management is going to solve those problems. So first off, I like to highlight here there's a lot of decentralized information in the sales and accounts receivable area in GP, and one problem we see today is companies just don't have the ability to keep collection history on their customers in GP. So they may print off an age trial balance, keep some posted notes, or perhaps have shared an Excel file. But the main problem with that is there's really no way to share those notes, conversations, or history with other users, at least not in GP. So collections management adds value in number 1, the collections main window, which is really the command center for this product, and it's great for ad hoc inquiry. You can use the main window for tracking and creating notes, setting up follow-up tasks, creating actions on invoices such as promises to pay, or maybe it's even in dispute. Now you can also access your task window, which is essentially your to-do list for the collections module. And your collection notes can also be created from the main window here. And the notes have historically been the hub of collections management, really the main functionality. And they allow your users to create actions, keep history, and notes on customer invoices. And then you're also going to see those notes act as follow-up tasks. Second pain point that we see a lot of our customers have is there's a lot of inconsistent follow-up. And with that follow-up, you're perhaps using a lot of manual communication. So our collection plans here are going to allow your users to spend less time searching for customers, spend less time creating emails, and attaching invoices manually. So these workflows are essentially a set of actions suggested automatically based on the due date of a customer's invoice. So you can use the predefined plans that we have set up, or you can define your own from scratch and really tailor those to your different customer types. Now you're going to want to process those actions suggested by the plans in similar groups, one by one, or all at one time, and I'll show everyone that in the demonstration today. Lastly, bottom line, collections management is aimed to reduce your bad debt and improve your cash flow. So I'm also going to show a number of performance reports. We have an accounts receivable summary window. There are some smart lists and some SSRS report templates that come with the product. And then we also have some individual collector performance reports built in the product as well. And then the last thing there with collections management, it also calculates your DSO. So that's going to allow you to track your day sales outstanding over time and then really measure your return on investment on this product. Last two slides here that I typically show highlight the return on investment of collections and how you can track your DSO. So a good statistic to calculate a return on investment is your DSO. Your DSO is indicating how much you're selling and how fast you're getting paid, and then that can really indicate how effective your collection process is working. So the example I have here on this slide, highlighting for simplicity reasons, if you're a $36 million company today, that's roughly $3 million a month or $100,000 a day, and you implement collections management and use that as a catalyst to decrease your DSO. The example I have here, let's say within the first year of using collections, you've decreased your DSO from 45 days to 40 days. So just down by 5 days. That's going to result in another $500,000 in your bank account. In the same light here, here's a simple cash benefit analysis, which really just gives you a better idea how much more money you could collect by decreasing your DSO. And then also, based on some national averages on what's paid relative to due date, here's what $1 is worth in relation to days past due. So after looking at a few of these things, it's easy to see why having a good collection system is important. All right, so let's hop into GP now and demonstrate collections management. Make sure my screen pops up. All right, looks like we're good to go. So I want to show you collections management now. I do want to mention that this product was designed to manage a collection team, and it's also a great collections tool in a single collector environment. You're also going to notice today in the demonstration that the navigational and visual cue features are the same as the other GP modules, so it's going to allow you to work between the modules with ease. I also want to mention that I have my demonstration set up today in GP 2015. Current functionality is supported with GP 2016, GP 2015, and GP 2013. However, we do have code for older versions, but they will no longer be enhanced moving forward. You can also see I have a number of shortcuts here on my home page today, and that's just for demoing purposes. But just to note, when all functionality and windows are installed, they will reside here in the sales area in GP. All right, so let's take you through collections management. So first off, I want to cover the tools, as I previously mentioned, that are used for your daily collecting or your day-to-day collecting. So I'm going to start here with the collections main window, and this is really going to be your starting point for daily collecting. So I'm going to start by selecting a customer here. Choose Aaron Fitz Electrical. So this is really going to be your starting point, as I mentioned, or the command center for this product. It provides a detailed record of your contacts with your customer. So you pick your customer, as we just did, Aaron Fitz here. You can certainly sort through these different address IDs that you have set up for that customer. So if you're trying to collect from a customer at more than one location, this would allow you to do that. Now you can see below that we have our contact person's name for this customer. We can see their phone and fax numbers. We can see the last time this customer made a payment and how much that payment was for. And then their payment terms are listed right below that. So you can see Aaron Fitz here was on our net 30 payment terms. Year-to-date sales, this number here is really just giving us a better idea how big of a customer we're trying to collect from. Now underneath that we have unposted sales, unposted cash, and unposted orders. So I like to mention that these are drill downs to some core GP windows. So if I click on this unposted sales here, that's going to pull open a SOP document inquiry. So that's core GP, as well as this receivables inquiry window here. Again, that's also core GP. So when you drill into these three, as I mentioned, those are just pulling open some core GP windows. Now, these may be important to review before you do your collecting. First off, unposted sales here and unposted orders. Let's say you come in your collections main window, you're looking around, and you see your customer here owes you a large amount of money that you need to collect on. You can look back at some of these unposted sales and unposted orders, and perhaps there's a product you haven't shipped to this customer yet, or a service you've carried out for them. You can look at putting a hold on those things until you see your customer start making some of the payments that they owe. To put your customer on hold, you simply come up to next to the customer ID, check them on hold. Once you see your customer here start making some of those payments that they owe on, you simply just check them off. Now additionally, this unposted cash may be important to review as well, in that you come in your main window again, you're looking around, you see your customer owes you a large amount of money, but you also have a lot of unposted cash from that customer. That's showing you that you have cash from your customer, but it hasn't been applied to the invoices in GP. So again, it's good to look back at this unposted cash beforehand so you can potentially avoid an awkward conversation with your customer when you've actually received payment from them. It just hasn't been applied in GP thus far. Now your credit manager field is listed below that, so that allows your customers to be assigned to a specific credit manager. A large group of customers can also be divided amongst a collection team if necessary. We have our notes listed down here at the bottom. You can create unlimited notes per customer, and we also have a new note button at the top of our main window here that allows you to create new notes from scratch, but I'm actually going to demo the notes here in just a few minutes. We then have our customers' aging pulled off to the right side of the window here. It's worth mentioning that aging is pulled right from accounts receivable, so this information is going to be as current as your last aging routine. So you can drill into each of these aging periods, display that, and that's going to pull open a transactional window here and show you the specific invoice or invoices that fall into that specific aging period. Now, if any of you are using the multi-currency function, I just want to briefly mention that right now you are seeing your customers aging in their functional currency, but this drop down here would allow you to see your customers aging in their originating currency if need be. We then have the total amount that's been invoiced and what your customer owes here. You can see below that we have a credit limit for our customer. We can see their salesperson and their territory ID, and those are just standard fields inside of GP. We have our parent ID displayed here. So this would allow you to see if your customer is part of a national account. So if any of you are using that parent-child relationship function in Dynamics GP, that would be displayed here. It's also worth mentioning that there's a national accounts option at the top of the window here. So when you're doing the inquiry, you can display just a single customer, as I've been demonstrating in, or you can switch it to a group of customers. That's going to display the entire national account. So all the notes that have been created for either that parent or child will be displayed here, and then all the accounts receivable totals for that parent and child as well. But for today's demoing purposes, I'm actually going to stick with just a single customer. We then have our collection plan that our customer is assigned to. That will be populated here. I'm actually going to demo the plan setup and the plan processing window later on in the demo. I just wanted to briefly mention that you can see your customer's plan or the plan they're assigned to here in the main window as well. We then have the total amount outstanding here, and that's going to be the sum of what's been invoiced to your customer, as well as unposted sales and unposted orders. All right, so the next thing I want to demo here is the notes. So the notes, this is going to be your second tool for daily collecting, the collection notes here. So as I briefly mentioned, you can create a new note from scratch at the top of our main window here, but let me just pull open an existing note so you have some actual data to look at. All right, well, when these notes are created here, it's going to show the date and time this note was created. It's going to show the caller ID here, and that's going to be the GP user who created this note. You can see we have an address and contact set up for our customer here, and then we can assign our notes to different priority levels. Bottom portion of the note, this is the note text. So this is all open text fields. You can type in whatever you want this note to read. You can even copy and paste an email conversation in here. So in this case, it looks like we spoke to Bob Fitz. Bob's telling us he's going to send payment by early next week on a couple of invoices. The next thing the user is going to want to do when they create these notes is assign it to an action. So an action is something that you've done, such as a reminder or a follow-up, or it can even be the status of an invoice. Maybe it's in dispute, or maybe it's even been promised for payment. So let me show you some examples of these actions. So this action ID field here tracks any follow-up actions that have occurred or that need to occur. Drill into this here. So all these actions are the actions that I have set up. These actions are actually all configurable. So you can set up whatever actions make sense for your practice or your specific collecting activities. Most of these are straightforward. So you got checks in the mail here. sent to collections. Maybe there's a certain point in time when an invoice gets old, you need to send it to a collection agency, disputing an invoice, so on and so forth. And then each of these actions here can be categorized with one of three different action types. First type we have is a promise to pay. So your customer has made some sort of notion that they're going to submit payment on the invoice. Second category here is special circumstance. So anything deemed outside of your normal day-to-day collecting activities would fall under that. Third category being dispute. Maybe you're going back and forth with the customer on what needs to be paid on the invoice. And then if you didn't want to categorize it with one of these three action types, we can just leave it blank as an action as none. So you're going to want to assign this note to an action, or an action to this note rather. So in this case it looks like we have a promise to pay. So our customer is promising to pay this invoice. We have our action date listed below that. So this action date essentially acts as a follow-up task. And what it does is it leverages the note as a follow-up task. I'm going to show everyone this task window here in just a few minutes. But that way you have this note here telling you, hey, customer told us they're submitting payment by early next week. But if it comes due and it's still open, we have this note in here that's going to show up on our task window telling us that we need to follow up again because it obviously has not been paid. Now you can also assign these notes to different users. So let's say you can't come into GP and create a note that wasn't for a specific customer that you manage. This would allow you to assign it to the appropriate credit manager. And then the next thing you'll do in creating these notes is select the documents or invoices that this note pertains to. So if I drill into that, it's going to pull open a transactional list and show us all of the open accounts receivable that that customer has. And you simply just check the ones you would like this note to pertain to. So you can see here I already have a couple selected. Now once I select those invoices, it's actually going to default this action amount to the total amount of those invoices I selected. But you can change this action amount. It is editable. If you have people you're collecting from telling you they can only make a partial payment, you can change this action amount so it meets the amount that they said they're going to pay. So let's say you're calling Bob Fitz here. Bob's like, hey everyone, I cannot pay this $3,000 today. However, I do have $2,000 that I can make as a down payment. You can change that action amount to the amount that Bob said he's going to pay. So let's go ahead and do that. That way when that $2,000 comes in, that payment can be applied in GP, and then we can follow up on the remaining amount with a different note. We have our status listed below that, so this note is open because it has not been paid. But once that payment comes through, we can mark it as complete. And then if for any reason we needed to cancel a note, or if a note was canceled by one of our plans, there are status reasons for that as well. Now, before I move on from this drop down here, I do want to mention that we have a button called Mark Complete in our task window here. Again, I'll go into that in just a few minutes here, but basically by clicking that, that goes through and finds all the notes with paid invoices and automatically completes them for you. Again, I'll go into more detail as I get into the task window here, but I just wanted to briefly mention that. And then one sort of lesser known feature here with the notes is that anytime you come in here and make a change to something or revise something in this note, it is going to keep a history of those revisions. So if you drill into that like I just did, you'll be able to sort through and see if any changes have been made to this note, the date that note was changed, and then if it's been modified by any user. So that's the notes there. Next thing I want to drill into here is this total due drill down. So if I click on that, this is going to pull open an accounts receivable transactional list. Some really nice visual cues we get in this window. This little information icon here, it's going to let you know that there's a note attached to that document. You also notice there are some letters next to these as well. So this P here is going to denote that the invoice has been promised for payment. You can see the total amount down here on what the customer is promising to pay us. And the cool thing about these promise payment notes is that, let's say the action date goes past due, your customer did not submit payment on it, it's automatically going to change that P into a B, which will denote a broken promise. So then you can easily see which ones did not get paid on time. A couple more letters down here at the bottom. We have a D that will denote it's in dispute, and S will denote its special circumstance. You can see the total amount being disputed down here, total amount deemed special, and then the remaining amount that the customer owes that hasn't been categorized. So that's where those action types come into play, and you can inquire on groups like that. Alright, so next window I want to show you here is our task window. So this is essentially going to be the third tool for your daily collecting. It's going to be managing a task list. I'll drill into this here. I am going to change my action date so you have some more data to look at. Alright, so this task window here is essentially going to be your to-do list for the day. So these collection tasks here, they organize your follow-ups to help ensure prompt collections. So all of the outstanding action items for a particular collector can be viewed in this window. Individual notes can be opened or marked complete from here as well. And this is where that Mark Completed button comes into play. So if you were to click this button here, this would automatically mark your outstanding items as completed if all the invoices attached to the note have been paid in full. So essentially what this Mark Paid Note functionality is doing is it's saving your collectors from manually having to check whether or not a customer has paid each outstanding invoice. It's automatically going to do that for you. Now, one other thing to know while I'm in here, and I kind of briefly touched on this already, is you can select a collector ID, but if you didn't have a collector selected, it's just going to show you all of your open tasks. So, maybe you got somebody out on vacation, you wanted to make sure you did the follow-ups for that user. This certainly will allow you to work on other people's tasks, and then you can also sort by the action date here or the action ID. So that's the task window there. Now the final tool for daily collecting is going to be creating and sending emails. So let's highlight that functionality. Let's say you're calling Bob Fitz here and you're collecting from Bob and he's requested that you send him some invoices. You can quickly send this one-off email right here. If the customer's maintenance card is set up with a contact and with an email address, you can add that right to the window. This also allows you to copy in or blind copy the customer's or anybody for that matter. And then in collections management, you also have the ability to set up what we call collection letters. So letter templates can easily be created for printing, faxing, or even emailing the customers. And letters is kind of an older term, but if you think of them as message templates, you can use them here. So let's drill into this. So these are all the different templates that I have set up. These are all configurable. I'm actually going to show you how to set these letters up here in just a couple minutes. But let me just pick one here so you have a better example of what I'm talking about. All right. So once I have that email selected, it's going to allow me to select whatever invoices I need to attach to this email. So at the bottom here, we have a transactional list where we simply check which ones we would like to attach to this email. So let's go ahead and select a few. So once I have those selected, it's going to do a few things for me. Number one, it's going to list out the detail in the body of the email like you can see here. Number two, it's going to print these invoices. And number three, it's also going to attach these as PDF documents. So that's the emailing window itself, but I actually want to show you how to set these letters up. So let's drill into the sales area here in GP. All right. So in the customer cards here in GP, we'll drill into the collection letters. So this is that standard letter maintenance window. As I previously mentioned, these are all configurable, so you can never set up whatever letters make sense for your practice, specific collecting activities, or your collection plans. So that's where you would set the letters up, and you can display those letters. But I also want to mention a newer feature that we've added to Collections Manage as well. So this is the feature called Collections plus Paylink. So this is a feature owned by Notice Paylink, so it would require you to own their credit card advantage. But I just want to briefly go through and show you how this integration works. So this gives you the ability to send a payment link inside your collection emails. So this would be one area in Collections where you can quickly do that, or rather even set it up. So the Paylink feature inside Collections Management allows your users to send a credit card or e-check payment links inside their collections email, and this is how you would set that up. So we're in the letter maintenance here. The first scenario I want to show you is what we're going to do here is we're going to include a single payment link for one or multiple invoices. So I already have this predefined here. So this is my first example. So what we're doing is we're including one payment link to pay all invoices on the email. So there's only one option for the customer to pay essentially. And here's how we're going to do that. We use this very basic template in here and insert this function, pay link for multiple documents. And this is going to include one payment link for any invoice the user has attached to this email. So those invoices can be defined by the letter template, as you can see in here. Or they can even be defined by the end user, and you would do that up here. So that's the first example. So essentially how you put those in is these functions here. So you can see we have invoices, aging, customer, collector info. I can go into a little more detail about that later, but what we're focusing on now is inserting the invoices. So you can see here we have all those our invoices selections, but we also have the pay link for multiple documents. So that's where that integration comes into play, and you would be able to insert that inside your letter here. Now the second example I want to show you here is pay link for multiple documents. So what this includes is an individual payment link for each invoice. So essentially your customer can pick which invoice they want to pay for. And here's how you would set that up. We've configured this template to include an individual payment link that's called selected documents. You can see here this is a very simple template. You notice we've included a function that's going to display the details for those selected documents for that customer. So collections is automatically going to select and attach all the selected invoices and include the detail inside the body of the email. Now you also notice we have some number of characters here at the end of this that we configured on this function. This integer right here allows us to include the payment links for every selected invoice that gets included inside the email. So the invoice function with the pay link parameter, and then it will add the link for each document indicated. Our collections documentation shows everyone how to set up those integers. So basically there's two main examples of how you can use payment links inside collection letters. Number one, we just want to use one payment link to pay several invoices. Or number two, we want to use individual payment links for the invoices that we include inside those emails. Now, how can we distribute these letters? First and foremost, we can use the collection plans, and I'm actually going to drill into the collection plans here in just a few minutes. And then the other two ways are to use a query letter, which I'm also going to demonstrate here in a couple minutes, and then one-off emails, which I previously just demonstrated. Now let's hop back into my shortcuts here. So you would be able to use that pay link here in the one-off email, as I said, but one new useful function for sending pay links can be accessed from any collections transaction inquiry window. So for example, this total due drill down. So you can see here this customer has a large amount of money that's past due. So we can drill into this. Again, that's going to pull open a transactional window here, and we can see the customer's past due receivables. So from here we have the option to use that pay link functionality, where we simply just check the invoices we want to attach. So let's go ahead and select a couple. Now at the top of the window here we can use this create pay link button, and this is an email that is based on a user-defined template, so that's something that I've already had set up. So you can click on, if I clicked on that, you can see here that we have the two invoices that I selected. Now I'm actually going to send this to myself right now just to give you a better idea of how your customer will be receiving these details. You can see it's a fairly quick process. Now just wait 1 second here for it to come across on my email. All right, there it is. So this is the email that your customer would be receiving. So you can see here it includes the two payment links that I had already selected. So your customer would simply check this here. That's going to bring them to an internet browser and show them their outstanding invoice details. So you can see the customer's ID here, customer name, the date that this due, and then with their invoice number details. So from here, your customer would simply have to pay via credit card or pay via e-check as well. As I previously mentioned, that would include or would require you to own the CCA or credit card advantage from Notice PayLink, but it's simply, if you own collections management, it's just a simple checkbox inside the registration key that we have to turn on from our end. So if anybody would like more information, I will be pulling open my contact details at the end of the demonstration here. Please just reach out to me. I can set you up with a call with Notice or just give you some more details from my end as well. So that basically wraps up the tools and features for your daily collecting. So now the second portion of the demo, I want to show you how you can automate that collection process. So the first tool I want to show you here to automate your collection process is collection queries. All right, so one of the first problems customers see when they're doing their collecting is finding the customers that they should be calling first. Most companies using GP collect using an age trial balance, where the customers are sorted alphabetically and not by collector. So you can use this build queries window here to target the customers that you specifically want to work with. So first I want to show you this standard collection query. So this query here allows me to develop a list of customers based on a number of different restrictions. So you can sort by a balance that a customer owes. That balance is greater than their credit limit. Sort by different aging periods, document dates, due dates, different notes, or different action types. Really a lot of different restriction options we're giving you there to query your customers. But let me just pull open one that I've already created. Alright, so this is going to show me the customers who are on my high-risk plan and over their credit limit. So the restrictions I have set at the bottom here, you can see I'm looking for customers on my high-risk collection plan as well as those who have a balance greater than my credit limit. Once I have those restrictions set, I'm going to come up here and run that query. I'm going to click yes, and at that time it's going to tell me how many records it searched, how many met my restrictions, and of those who met my restrictions, their total balance and their overdue balance. So if I click OK here, you notice it brings us back to the main window, and it's actually saving that query. You can see here we went from viewing all of our customers to just the ones who are in that query. So once this query is generated, you have the option of sending a letter, statement, and invoices to all the customers in that query. Let me quickly show you how to do that. The sales area here in GP, and transactions, the query letters here. So this is where you'd be able to send those letters, statements, or documents. And you can see here, this has saved my last query. So I'm looking for my high-risk customers over their credit limit. Let's hop back up into the collections main window here. Still on the collection query here, you can also drill into this customer lookup here, and that's going to show you the customers who met your restrictions. You can see the two that met my restrictions. It's going to show you their balance overdue and their total due. Next feature I want to show you here is an advanced query. So this is a newer feature that we've added into collections management, and it gives you the ability to enter SQL script to query your data. So if you wanted to manually write these yourself, you can certainly do that. Maybe you have somebody who's knowledgeable with SQL and wants to create something different than what we have here. You can certainly do that as well. Again, we're really just giving you the ability to use the SQL script to query your data. So that's the collection queries there. Now there are several different applications where you can use these query lists in collections management, but because of the timing today I won't actually be drilling into those applications, but I just wanted to briefly mention some of those windows. So some of the areas that you can use these queries are the receivable summary inquiry window, which I'll be touching on, the transfer credit manager window, assign customers to a plan, collection plan processing window, as well as your collection report. So again, there are several different areas or applications where you can use these query letters. Alright, so the next two windows I want to touch on here are the plan setup window and the plan processing window. These two windows will be tied together, but first I want to touch on the plan setup window. So essentially this is going to be your the second tool for automating your collection process. So I'm going to show you how to set these plans up and assign these to different customers. So before I hop into the actual plans that I have set up, I want to show you how to create these plans. So again, here in the customer cards, you can drill into the collection plans. These are all configurable, so you can set up whatever actions make sense for your specific collection plan. Again, you can do these, create as many as you want of these or as few as you want, really depending on how you do your collection process. Now, assigning these collection plans, there are really three different areas where you can do that. First and the most obvious, assign customers to a collection plan. So you can see here, this would be one area you could use that collection query. I want to briefly touch on that. But more specifically, it lets you focus on specific customers or groups of customers, and you can assign them to specific collection plans. Second option here is to drill into the customer specifically. So let me pull open Aaron Fitz here. So you can see here, this is just general information for Aaron Fitz, some general maintenance information, but under this additional drop-down, we have their collection information. That's going to allow us to assign collection plans to specific customers. The third and final way to assign customers to a plan is your collection default or your collection setup. So you can see here we have our default customer. So anytime you get a new customer, you can maybe assign them to a specific plan and then eventually move them on to a new plan. But this would allow you to assign that for new customers. All right, now let me actually show you how these plans work here. So what these are here, these plans are essentially a set of steps or workflows that execute actions based on the customer's oldest invoice. So we have a couple different examples here. This is my good customer plan. This might be something that I assign to my premium accounts or those who are notorious for making their payments on time. We have a high-risk plan here. This might be something I assigned to my previously late-paying customers. And then the one other one I have here, my standard collection plan. Maybe this is your default plan that you assign to all of your new customers. Now, if you're looking at the steps in any of these plans, these are all configurable here. Again, these actions are being suggested based on the due date of a customer's oldest invoice. So the first step in this plan actually happens 7 days before that invoice is due, so a negative amount in the first step. And what's happening is we're executing this action called soon due. So if I drill into this action here, I notice this action happens to be a letter that they're going to get. So I'll drill into that letter as well, and that pulls open my standard letter maintenance window. So in this window here, we're letting them know that they have invoices with us that will soon be considered overdue. We list out the invoices in the body of the email with this function. And then the invoices we configure to be attached to this email include all invoices not overdue. So really a lot of different grouping options we have here for which types of invoices we want to attach to these emails. You could do, let's see, all disputed invoices if you wanted, all promise, or you could just choose all of the customer's invoices if you wanted as well. Now this window also allows you to copy in or blind copy the customer's salesperson if they need to be in the loop for a certain step. And then of course, as I previously talked about in the demonstration, our function fields here. So you can add invoice details like you can see here in the body of this letter, or maybe you just want to make the letter sound more personal. Maybe you put the customer's name in there. So really a lot of different function options you have with the letters here as well. Now when you're creating these letters, you have two options with creating them. Number one is using what you see here, your standard letter maintenance window. Number two, or the other option, is to use this Microsoft Word document attachment, or this template. So you can still use the same function options, you can still use the same verbiage. Really the only difference is that this Word doc would be sent as an attachment to the email, whereas this letter maintenance is going to be the actual text for the body of the email. Let's hop back into our collection plans here and take you through that. So this is going to take your customer through the steps in their plan as long as their invoice has not been paid. So 5 days past due, we send a reminder. 14 days past due, a phone call. 30 days, 45, couple letters, couple phone calls. Coming in at 90 days past due, the final action. So the final action or any action can be a reminder to the collector internally, you know, customer so-and-so is now 90 days past due. We need to put their account on hold or need to send them to a legal department. So once the customers reach the last step in this plan or their plan, you have two options. Number one, you can keep repeating that last step. So maybe send the customer an email every 30 days telling them their account is on hold. Or you could just have the plan stop suggesting next action. In that case, you would have to determine manually what you want to do with the invoice for that customer. Now, one other thing worth mentioning in this window is this minimum amount due. So again, based on your customer's oldest outstanding invoice, if the invoice does not meet that minimum, then it's not going to take them through the steps in this plan. So you can set a floor here for what needs to be collected on each collection plan. A good example I like to give is, let's say you have a customer assigned to the standard collection plan. You do hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of business with them every year, but for some weird reason they have a $5 invoice that's past due. You're probably not going to want to take them through the steps in this plan or even send them a number of threatening actions unless it's over that minimum invoice amount. So that's the collection plans. Now the third tool for automating your collection process is going to be your plan processing window. So as I previously mentioned, this plan processing window is tied in with your plan setup. So essentially this is just going to execute all of those actions. So what you're looking at is all of your customers, all the ones who are on that collection plan, and the ones who are ready to get their next actions. So you can sort these actions in a number of different ways. You can look at all of your customers with a balance, overdue customers. You can sort by a collector or a query that you've built, or just look at all the customers who have reached the end of their plan. But for today, I'm going to choose overdue customers. Now I can search the queue here by the customer name, the collection plan they're assigned to, the last action they received, or the next action they're scheduled to get. So just to kind of give you a better idea how this works, let me pick next action. I'll choose first letter. So if I pick the first letter, I know the first letter is a safe and subtle action that we send to our customers, an early step in our collection plans. So I don't really need to go through and worry about who's getting those. I just go ahead and process all those customers. But for today's demoing purposes, I'm going to switch this back to all so you have some more customers to look at. Now let's say you're running through this list here. So the overall goal is for you to be able to come in here, do a quick review of your customers and the actions they're scheduled to get. Let's say you're running through this list, you're like, hey, Atmore Retirement Center, I just spoke with them yesterday. You can select that customer as I just did, and in the middle of the window it's going to show you the documents that are due for payment for that customer. So you can pick and choose which ones you want to include for that action. And then the bottom portion here is their letter text. So you can modify this text here, maybe put in here, hey Jane, I know we spoke on the phone yesterday, but I just wanted to send you those invoices that you owe us. You can modify that quickly and then process just that customer, or you can even come back up in your queue, delete them, and that would take them out of the queue temporarily and let you process all of your other actions or your customers. So again, the overall goal of this window here is for you to be able to come in here, do that quick review of your customers, see the actions they're scheduled to get, and then process all customers. So once you process all your customers, as I just did, it's going to give you a summary here based on the plan your customers were assigned to. So on our good customer plan, we send 8 emails of a final letter, 4 emails of a first letter. On my high-risk plan, I send 16 emails of a final letter, so on and so forth. But let's say we have somebody who's not set up in GP with an email address. It is going to warn us to go back and set them up with one. Otherwise, at the bottom here, we do have the option to send those who do have an email and print those who do not. In that case, you would have to send the printed ones through the mail or however you wanted to contact your customer. So that is the collection plans. All right, so it looks like we have a little bit of extra time here, so I want to drill into 2 additional features that come with collections management. First one here is going to be your collections receivable summary inquiry window. So this window here allows your managers or really anybody to review accounts receivable summary information. So you can do it by a credit manager here. You can do it by a query you've built, so that's another area you can use those queries, or a parent company. Or if you leave it blank like I have it right now and click calculate, it's going to do all of your accounts receivable for you. So the top portion here is your standard receivable summary information. The middle portion here is the summary information on your notes. So you can see here how many disputed notes you have. You can actually drill in and see that disputed note. See how many promise payment notes we have. Again, you can drill into any of these here. But the 2 most important fields here are, first of all, notes past a contact date. So it's showing here that we have 6 notes that have gone past the action date. So again, we could drill into those 6 notes and see those. But the most important field on this window is overdue documents not on a note. Again, bear with me, this is my demoing data, but it's showing here I have nearly $1 million of past due invoices that I don't have a note for. So essentially, we don't know why they haven't been paid. So from here, again, you could drill into that, and a credit manager could go in there and assign those to different collectors for follow-ups, or you could even use it as your call down list and create new notes. The bottom portion here, this is just your customers aging. All right, now the last window I want to touch on here before we wrap up and take Q&A is the Days Sales Outstanding calculator. So this allows your users here to pick a specific period and calculate the DSO for that period. So you can see here I have my time frame set. I'm going to calculate that, and it calculates it for you. You're going to show you your sales for that period, average sales per day, sales outstanding, and your day sales outstanding. You can then add that to a log here, and that tracks that log over time. But the way we have GP set up now, or excuse me, collections management, it's actually going to, every time you log into GP, it's automatically going to log that for you. So you can see here I logged in today and it populated that for me. So that is collections management. At this time we will take your questions. All right. So first question we have here, and this is probably going to be a good one for my support team. Does collections management support Word templates yet? If you're sending letters and attaching invoices, I think it uses a standard invoice format rather than the Word template format. Yes, great question, Rachel. That's actually was brought up just to our team's attention the other day. I know we have several customers that are looking to attach those Word documents. I don't believe it's ready to go yet, but that is something I can definitely follow up on the status of with my support team. So Rachel, I'll definitely take note here to follow up with you regarding the status of that. Question we always get, just kind of a general question here, is what is the pricing? So we do have Australian pricing. I could probably grab that here, but off the top of my head, I don't have that. But the standard pricing, we do convert that as well. So the standard U.S. pricing is $3,500. It's not based on any users, so it's just a flat rate cost. And then we do also have an annual maintenance fee that comes with that as well. But if anybody would like a formal quote, I'm more than happy to provide that and get you moving forward with collections management as well. All right, I don't see any other questions coming in at this time, but I just can certainly wait here a couple more minutes. Again, thank you all. Thank you all for taking the time out of your day to view collections management. I do appreciate that. I just want to pull open my contact information here. So again, my name is Griffin Swanson. I do work in the U.S. office here in Denver, Colorado. But feel free to reach out to me at any point via email or direct. That is my direct phone line as well. More than happy to take your questions, get you set up on a demonstration with collections management, or just discuss the product in general. So it doesn't look like we have any other questions at this time. Again, I will wait here just a couple more minutes. But for those of you who don't have any questions, again, thank you for taking the time out of your day. I look forward to following up with you regarding today's webinar. All right, nothing more is coming across. I want to thank everyone again and have a great day.